In less than a year, many of us will be voting for the next president of the United States. But first, in about 4 months, there's the Texas primary election.
Yeah, coming off the voting mishaps many Texas counties saw this week, our Payton Weidman joins us now. She decided to dig into the issues Smith County voters experienced and to see what's being done before 2020.
It wasn't that long ago that filling in bubbles like this was how we voted. But with the advancement of technology, we now use electronic machines, which you would think would make the voting process easier.
That's the reason why we have this technology, so it can move quickly. I have really not seen that the technology is speeding up the voting process that much.
Long lines and waiting 30 minutes to an hour to vote were not uncommon during the November 5th election in Smith County. But only about 16,000 people voted. That's more than 4 times less than the 78,000 people who voted in the 2018 midterm election.
They said the machines were down early that morning. That I think was more of trying to get connectivity on everything, and it kind of threw everything off.
Out of the 34 polling locations in the county, 5 were reported to have had technical difficulties.
Our laptop that checks the voter in, like that's your poll book, and so they were having some connectivity issues with the management system and just the familiarity of new technologies, not with voting machines.
That's according to Smith County Elections Administrator Karen Nelson. But elections clerk Nancy Nichols says there were more than just 5 locations that had trouble.
What we experienced at our polling location, which was the Cross-Brand Cowboy Church, was very similar to many of the polling locations' hiccups.
Nelson and Nichols both say a new security measure was added to the setup process.
But they didn't tell people. So no one out in the field knew about it. It wasn't in the instructions, and that created a no-win situation for clerks like me who simply could not get the check-in process completed.
With no connection, some of the polling locations opened later than they were supposed to. Because of this, many East Texans like Jaron Gonzalez had to leave without voting.
I got there about 7:30 and waited all the way until about 8. Had to go drop my daughter off at daycare.
Gonzalez was able to vote after work, but he had to do so before 7 p.m. when the polls closed. Even with late starts, Nelson says an extension of polling hours was never considered.
Of course, you don't want a voter to have to leave that location and go somewhere else, but that is the beauty of the countywide voting, is they can choose any location on the list to cast their ballots.
Voting issues weren't limited to Smith County. There were reports of problems in Tarrant, Harris, and Midland counties as well. I reached out to the office of the Texas Secretary of State, who responded on Wednesday with the following. Yesterday's election was the first in which many counties were using the equipment that they recently purchased, and as such, having some teething problems on a first run with new machines and procedures is not unexpected. The Office of the Texas Secretary of State has been in and continues to be in touch with local elections officials and administrators to ensure smooth elections as well as the integrity of our electoral process. We have no doubt the processes will only continue to improve, and we are confident in the security of our systems heading into the 2020 elections.
That's our goal, is for everyone to be able to cast that ballot. So we are trying to work through that and prepare for 2020 and going forward.
However, some are skeptical that the kinks will be smoothed out. Do you feel that Smith County is prepared for the 2020 or the presidential election?
From what happened right now, I don't know, to be honest with you.
Do you feel confident that Smith County will take the steps and be ready by March?
No.
The clock is ticking, with 117 days left until the March primaries. We've got you covered, East Texas. Payton Weidman, CBS 19.
Now, CBS 19 asked you this evening on Facebook whether or not you had issues at the ballot box Tuesday. 23% of you said yes, while 77% said no.